Hare Krishna, my dear devotees out there in cyberspace, wherever you are, we hope you're well and safe and happy in all respects. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just near the English Channel. Today is the holiest day, one of the holiest days, the Nityananda Trayodasi, at least here in the UK it is. Nityananda Maham Naomi Sarvananda Kadam Padam Harinama Padam Devam Avaduta Shirumanyam. Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram, and therefore he is the first expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Kṛṣṇa himself. And he is Harinama Padam Devam. He is the supreme deity of the holy name. And Avaduta Shirumanyam. He is fixed in his position as a cowherd boy, even while he was operating here in the material world, and therefore he used to do things that were beyond conception in terms of those who were attached to regulated principles. Therefore he's called Avaduta Shirumanyam, the crest jewel of Avadutas. He would deliver the most fallen, and Lord Chaitanya would also deliver everyone, but he was concentrating on the most aristocratic, high-end of the population. Swarup Damodar, Rupa Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and so on. But he sent Nityananda to Bengal from Puri and told him, you don't need to come every year to spend 4 months with me in Puri. Only you can deliver Bengal. And Nityananda Prabhu, although he sometimes out of ecstasy disobeyed that instruction and came to see Lord Chaitanya anyway, in general he was preaching to everyone. He would go door to door. As soon as the door opened, he would fall on the ground on the floor and roll around and beg the inhabitants to chant Hare Krishna. That was his Sankirtan. And he did that with Haridas Thakur. And he delivered first Jagai and Madai, just as Lord Chaitanya was about to chop their heads off with a Sudarshan chakra because they threw a pot and damaged Lord Nityananda's forehead. But it didn't bother Lord Nityananda at all. He just said, that's all right, doesn't make any difference. Please just chant Hare Krishna. And when Jagai and Madai saw the depth of humility of Lord Nityananda, they fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Nityananda acted as their counselor or their advocate to Lord Chaitanya. And he delivered them, made them completely pure, and one of his most intimate, two of his most intimate followers. Therefore we worship Lord Nityananda. And there was one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, one of very favorable godbrothers, who said that Srila Prabhupada could only be an expansion of Nityananda's mercy, because only he could go to the Western world and deliver anyone and everyone without consideration and make them pure devotees. So we're here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who was embodying the mercy of Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya. So we offer him our deepest homage on this day. Before we begin Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we always read 1 second. Oh yes, I closed the machine. Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami, glorifying the Bhagavat Purāṇa, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kali Dvandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chotata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premna rit kantayok spuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. We've reached the 14th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Battle of Kurukshetra is over. Bhishma Dev has instructed Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he finally accepted the throne, performed an Ashwamedha Yajna. Vidura came back from pilgrimage and convinced Dhritarashtra to leave home, along with Gandhari, who followed him. And he perfected his life with the yoga system in a secluded place. Now we're at chapter 14, the disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Text 1. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Kṛṣṇa and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord descended to earth for the protection of the faithful and annihilation of the impious. So after the battle of Kurukshetra and establishment of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the mission of the Lord was complete. The Pandavas, especially Sri Arjuna, were eternal companions of the Lord, and therefore Arjuna went to Dwarka to hear from the Lord of his next program of work. Text 2. A few months passed, and Arjuna did not return. Maharaj Yudhishthira then began to observe some inauspicious omens, which were fearful in themselves. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is infinitely more powerful than the most powerful sun of our experience. Millions and billions of suns are created by Him and annihilated by Him within His one breathing period. In the material world, the sun is considered to be the source of all productivity and material energy, and only due to the sun can we have the necessities of life. Therefore, during the personal presence of the Lord on the earth, all paraphernalia for our peace and prosperity, especially religion and knowledge, were in full display because of the Lord's presence, just as there is a full flood of light in the presence of the glowing sun. Maharaj Yudhishthira observed some discrepancies in his kingdom, and therefore he became very anxious about Arjuna, who was long absent, and there was also no news about Dwaraka's well-being. He suspected the disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa, otherwise there would have been no possibility of fearful omens. Text 3. He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful, and he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. Purport. When civilization is disconnected from the loving relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, symptoms like changes of seasonal regulations, foul means of living, greed, anger, and fraudulence become rampant. The change of seasonal regulations refers to one season's atmosphere becoming manifest in another season. For example, the rainy seasons being transferred to autumn, or the fructification of fruits and flowers from one season in another season. A godless man is invariably greedy, angry, and fraudulent. Such a man can earn his livelihood by any means, black or white. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all the above symptoms were conspicuous by their absence. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was astonished to experience even a slight change in the godly atmosphere of his kingdom, and at once he suspected the disappearance of the Lord. Foul means of livelihood indicates deviation from one's occupational duty. There are prescribed duties for everyone, such as the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. But anyone who deviates from his prescribed duty and still declares that he belongs to its original social class is following a foul means of livelihood. A man becomes too greedy for wealth and power when he has no higher objective in life, and when he thinks that this earthly life of a few years is all in all. Ignorance is the cause of all these anomalies in human society, and to remove this ignorance, especially in this age of degradation, the powerful sun in the shape of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is there to distribute light. Text 4. All ordinary transactions and dealings become polluted with cheating, even between friends. And in familial affairs, there was always misunderstanding between fathers, mothers, and sons, between well-wishers and between brothers. Even between husband and wife, there were always strain and quarrel. Purport. A conditioned living being is endowed with 4 principles of malpractice, namely errors, insanity, inability, and cheating. These are signs of imperfection. And out of the 4, the propensity to cheat. And out of the 4, the propensity to cheat others is most prominent. And this cheating practice is there in the conditioned souls because they are in the material world, primarily due to their being imbued with an unnatural desire to lord it over the material world. A living being in his pure state is not conditioned by the laws of material nature, because in his pure state he is conscious that a living being is eternally subservient to the Supreme Being, and that it is always good for him to remain subservient, instead of falsely trying to lord it over the property of the Supreme Lord. In the conditioned state, the living being is not satisfied even if he actually becomes the lord of all that he surveys, which he never becomes, and therefore he becomes the victim of all kinds of cheating, even by his nearest and most intimate relations. In such an unsatisfactory state of affairs, there is no harmony, even between father and sons, or between husband and wife. But all these contending difficulties can be mitigated by one process, and that is the devotional service of the Lord. The world of hypocrisy can be checked only by the counteraction through devotional service to the Lord. Excuse me. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Try that again. In such an unsatisfactory state of affairs, there is no harmony, even between father and sons, or between husband and wife. But all these contending difficulties can be mitigated by one process, and that is the devotional service of the Lord. The world of hypocrisy can be checked only by counteraction through devotional service to the Lord and nothing else. Maharaj Yudhishthira, having observed the disparities, conjectured the disappearance of the Lord from the earth. Text 5. In course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhishthira, observing all these omens, spoke as follows to his younger brother. Purport. Such a pious king as Maharaj Yudhishthira at once became perturbed when there were such inhuman symptoms as greed, anger, irreligiosity, and hypocrisy rampant in society. It appears from this statement that all these symptoms of degraded society were unknown to the people of the time, and it was astonishing for them to have experienced them with the advent of the Kali Yuga, or the age of quarrel. Text 6. Maharaj Yudhishthira said to his younger brother, Bhimasena, I sent Arjuna to Dwaraka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa of his program of work. Text 7. Since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he has not returned. I do not know factually how things are going on there. Text 8. Is the Lord going to quit his earthly pastimes, as Devarshi Narada indicated? Has that time already arrived? Purport. As we have discussed many times, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, has many plenary expansions, and each and every one of them, although equally powerful, executes different functions. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are different statements by the Lord, and each of these statements is meant for different plenary portions, or portions of the plenary portions. For example, Sri Krishna the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I incarnate myself." Bhagavad Gita 4:7. To deliver the faithful, to annihilate the miscreants, and also to re-establish the principles of occupational duty, I appear in every age. Bhagavad Gita 4:8. If I should cease to work, then all humanity would be misdirected. I would also be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all sentient beings. Bhagavad Gita 3:24. Whatever action a man performs, common men will follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Bhagavad Gita 3:21. All the above statements by the Lord apply to different plenary portions of the Lord, namely his expansions such as Sankarsana, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Narayana. These are all he himself in different transcendental expansions. And still, the Lord as Sri Krishna functions in a different sphere of transcendental exchange with different grades of devotees. And yet Lord Krishna, as he is, appears once every 24 hours of Brahma's time, or after a lapse of 8,640,000,000 solar years. In each and every universe, and all of his transcendental pastimes are displayed in each and every universe in a routine spool. But in that routine spool, the functions of Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudeva, etc., are complex problems for the layman. There is no difference between the Lord's self, the Lord's transcendental body, and his expansions who execute different activities. When the Lord, however, appears in person as Lord Sri Krishna, his plenary portions also join in him by his inconceivable potency called Yogamaya. And thus the Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from the Lord Krishna of Mathura or the Lord Krishna of Dwarka. The Virat Rupa of Lord Krishna is also different from him by his inconceivable potency. The Virat Rupa exhibited on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is the material conception of his form. Therefore it should be understood that when Lord Krishna was apparently killed by the bow and arrow of a hunter, the Lord left his so-called material body in the material world. The Lord is Kaivalya, and for him there is no difference between matter and spirit, because everything is created from him. Therefore his quitting one sort of body or accepting another body does not mean that he is like the ordinary living being. All such activities are simultaneously one and different by his inconceivable potency. When Maharaj Yudhishthira was lamenting the possibility of his disappearance, it was just in pursuance of a custom of lamenting the disappearance of a great friend. But factually, the Lord never quits his transcendental body, as is misconceived by less intelligent persons. Such less intelligent persons have been condemned by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita, and they are known as the Mudhas. That the Lord left his body means that he left again his plenary portions in the respective dhams, transcendental abodes, as he left his Virat Rupa in the material world. Text 9. From him only, all our kingly opulence, our kingdom, good wives, life, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodation in higher planets has become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. Purport. Material prosperity consists of a good wife, good home, sufficient land, good children, aristocratic family relations, victory over competitors, and, by pious work, attainment of accommodation in the higher celestial planets for better facilities of material amenities. These facilities are earned not only by one's hard manual labor or by unfair means, but by the mercy. These facilities are earned not only by one's hard manual labor or by unfair means, but by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Prosperity earned by one's personal endeavor also depends on the mercy of the Lord. Personal labor must be there in addition to the Lord's benediction. But without the Lord's benediction, no one is successful simply by personal labor. The modernized man of Kali Yuga believes in personal endeavor and denies the benediction of the Supreme Lord. Even a great sannyasi of India delivered speeches in Chicago protesting the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. But as far as Vedic Shastras are concerned, as we find in the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the ultimate sanction for all success rests in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhishthira admits this truth in his personal success, and it behooves one to follow in the footsteps of such a great king and devotee of the Lord, to make life a full success. If one could achieve success without the sanction of the Lord, then no medical practitioner would fail to cure a patient. Despite the most advanced treatment of a suffering patient by the most up-to-date medical practitioner, there is death. And even in the most hopeless case, without medical treatment, a patient is cured astonishingly. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause for all happenings, good or bad. Any successful man should feel grateful to the Lord for all he has achieved. Text 10. Just see, O man with a tiger's strength, how many miseries due to celestial influences, earthly reactions, and bodily pains, all very dangerous in themselves, are foreboding danger in the near future by deluding our intelligence. Purport. Material advancement of civilization means advancement of the reactions of the threefold miseries due to celestial influence, earthly reactions, and bodily or mental pains. By the celestial influence of the stars, there are many calamities, like excessive heat, cold, rain, or lack of rain, and the after effects are famine, disease, and epidemic. The aggregate result is agony of the body and the mind. Man-made material science cannot do anything to counteract these threefold miseries. They are all punishments from the superior energy of Maya, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, our constant touch with the Lord by devotional service can give us relief, so that we will not be disturbed in the discharge of our human duties. The Asuras, however, who do not believe in the existence of God, make their own plans to counteract all these threefold miseries, and so they meet with failure every time. The Bhagavad Gita 7:14 clearly states that the reaction of material energy is never to be conquered because of the binding effects of the three modes. They can simply be overcome by one who surrenders fully in devotion under the lotus feet of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How relevant is that purport to today? Exactly explaining what's happening today. Written back in 1960 something. Amazing. Srila Prabhupada is truly amazing. Text 11. My left thigh, arm, and eye are all quivering again and again, and I am having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings. Purport. Material existence is full of undesirables. Things we do not want are forced upon us by some superior energy, and we do not see that these undesirables are under the grip of the three modes of material nature. When a man's left eye, arm, and thigh all quiver constantly, one must know that something is going to happen which is undesirable. These undesirables are compared to fire in a forest. No one goes into the forest to set fires, but fires automatically take place in the forest, creating inconceivable calamities for the living beings of the forest. Such a fire cannot be extinguished by any human efforts. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends clouds to pour water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities. Text 12. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries in the rising sun. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. Purport. These are some bad omens indicating something undesirable in the near future. Text 13. O Bhimasena, tiger amongst men, now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. 14. Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of owls and the rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the whole universe. 15. Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just see the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue. Text 16. The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. Text 17. Just see how the rays of sun are declining and the stars appear to be fighting amongst themselves. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Text 18. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mind are all perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? Text 19. The calves do not suck the teats of the cows, nor do the cows give milk. They are standing with fearful faces, crying, and the bulls take no pleasure in the pasturing grounds. Text 20. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. They seem about to leave. All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, and hermitages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are now awaiting us. Text 21. I think that all these earthly disturbances indicate some greater loss to the good fortune of the world. The world was fortunate to have been marked with the footprints of the lotus feet of the Lord. These signs indicate that this will no longer be so. And we'll stop here at text 22. Hare Krishna. If the assembled sages are still alive after hearing this, in anticipation of the disappearance of the Lord, if they're still conscious, please stand up and give us your the benefit of your reflections. Hare Krishna.
First is from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Gopakanya Devi Dasi, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj and all assembled sages. Happy Nityananda Trayodashi to all.
Jai, Lord Nityananda ki Jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
Jai Guru Maharaj. Happy Nityananda Trayodashi to you and all the assembled devotees.
Thank you very much.
And Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Happy Nityananda Trayodashi.
Thank you so much.
And from Anandamurti.
Hare Krishna Anandamurti.
Lord Nityananda's appearance ki Jai.
Jai Ho.
He is the Adi Guru, our original spiritual master.
Absolutely. He's the first person who thinks himself a servant of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
In this age of Kali, I am entangled in these symptoms in my life, but this stuck in my mind. Quote, but all these contending difficulties can be mitigated by one process, and that is the devotional service of the Lord. Unquote. We are so fortunate because we can hear the teachings of Lord Kṛṣṇa through the bona fide spiritual master. Thank you so much for everyday reading of Srila Prabhupada's books.
Thank you very much for being there so loyally, and thank you for continuing your devotional life, your devotional service in the throes of this Kali Yuga. Thank you so much.
And from Vrajaloka Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vrajaloka.
Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to the most merciful Lord Nityananda.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing with us your transcendental happiness on this auspicious day and on all the other days. All glories to your service.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I told you it might be a little bit everybody's kind of stunned by these first few verses of the 14th chapter. They're very intense. And we can see just the very beginning of these symptoms. Now, 5,000 years later, they are rampant, everywhere rampant. So it's hard to feel peaceful, but it is a fact that if we stay loyal to Srila Prabhupada's instructions, even though they're surrounding us, they don't affect us as much. And if we become fully Krishna conscious, they won't affect us at all. Hare Krishna.
There's one more comment from Vrajaloka.
Hare Krishna, Vrajaloka.
Today I liked this statement. Quote, similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities. Unquote. I am so grateful for getting your company and Srila Prabhupada's company through his books.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it will be stated later on in this book, if it hasn't already been stated, or maybe stated more than once, that when Kṛṣṇa did disappear, the shelter went to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not different than Kṛṣṇa, just as we chant every day in the Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram. And therefore it is not different than Kṛṣṇa. It has the potency to lift us up and give us a taste of transcendental happiness even in the midst of the Kali Yuga. That is the proof. That is the proof. This is the second time I'm reading the Bhagavatam all the way through, cover to cover, in these daily readings. And each time I read it, it's mystical how much more I learn and how much more I taste, like I'm reading it for the first time, every time. That's mystical, mystic power of Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna.
Another comment from Vrajaloka.
Hare Krishna, Vrajaloka.
It is interesting to imagine what a wonderful society it must have been, in which people did not know greed, anger, pride. Today I have a better understanding of how downtrodden we are living here in Kali Yuga, but at the same time how fortunate we are because Kṛṣṇa has left us the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and we could get devotional service.
Yes, there's a verse in the Vedas that states that even the persons in the higher planetary systems are praying to take birth in the Kali Yuga, especially this Kali Yuga in which Lord Chaitanya appears, because they can get full-blown love of God simply by chanting the holy name and hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is not a euphemism. It's not just some casual comment. It's actually a fact. And anybody who hears sincerely and tries to assimilate and follow in the footsteps of the examples of the Bhagavatam will know for him or herself the potency of Kṛṣṇa to deliver us from the terrible anxieties of this material world. Hare Krishna.
And from Gopakanya.
Hare Krishna, Gopikanya.
Dear Maharaj, those bad omens are so fearful to hear. When my Gurudev Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj disappeared from us, I dreamt that there were no deities on our altar, and I was crying and woke up crying. And after 2 hours, we heard that Sri Gurudev left us.
Yes, this is the proper response of a disciple who loses the physical presence of spiritual master. But Srila Prabhupada taught us that the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his pure devotee, there are no difference between the disappearance and the appearance. We have had to live with the burden of being separated from Srila Prabhupada now for many years. 1977, 22. How many years is that? 45? 45 years. And so we know about what you're talking about. I was there in the room when Srila Prabhupada left. I was looking at his face. I was standing very close to the bed, at the foot of the bed. And I looked down at my body, and when I looked at his face and saw him say Hare Kṛṣṇa and then leave, and I felt that the world had become vacant. But the world didn't become vacant because his books are there. And I've always dedicated myself to his books ever since I touched them, before I even saw him physically. But particularly after I saw him physically, very shortly afterwards. And the truth of this is that I feel Srila Prabhupada's presence all the time. So if we sincerely follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada's books and try our best to make other people fortunate by giving in these books. In other words, if we participate in this Sankirtan movement full-heartedly, then it will fill the vacuum completely, and we'll be able to taste the association of our spiritual master through his instructions and through the instructions of our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, of whom particularly Bhakti Chura Maharaj was very dedicated and outspoken about Hare Kṛṣṇa, Haribol. So it isn't an accident that in this very intense chapter, the disappearance of Kṛṣṇa, that we should be thinking of the disappearance of our spiritual masters also. But this should be an impetus to become more serious about our devotional lives and our devotional service, and keep the Vani of our spiritual master close to our hearts, always remembering. And that is non-different than being with the spiritual master. Just like the Bhagavatam became the shelter after Kṛṣṇa left. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
From Rati Manjari.
Haribol Rati, Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for being the representative of Lord Nityananda for me. I am still in the temple after an afternoon and evening program of Harinam, Bhajan, Abhishek, class, Prasadam, and now going home. Still I am trying to hear this hour of power because I need my spiritual vitamins.
Tonic. Rasayan. The real Rasayan, the tonic, gives us strength and vitality, vigor, and happiness. Yes, thank you. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
From Dayanitai.
Yes, Dayanitai.
Dear Sri the Guru Maharaj, please accept my obeisance. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Would you please help me understand how then it is that sometimes we see that modern medical sciences seem to seem to alter certain karmic situations, like deaf-born children are helped to hear. People with serious handicaps are helped significantly. Even just a simple pair of glasses seems to be altering our otherwise inability to see or read. Hope I am making my question clear. Thank you.
It's relative, because even when those things are done, the person has to die. So why should we think that these are wonderful developments? What is wonderful about them? Making a few more years of, a little and tiny improvement before they die? They don't know where they're going to go. They don't know who they are. That's how to understand it. They seem to be, it seems to be progress, but they're not dealing with the real problems, birth and death. They're not eliminating disease. They're not eliminating these insufficiencies. They're controlled by the material nature. Even those improvements are only possible by the mercy of the mercy of the Lord through the material energy. And still the whole material world is going to close shop eventually. Just like our material bodies will eventually go, so the whole universe, which is the external body of the Lord, will go. So what is the use? What is the practical benefit? If a person can see a little bit more clearly the sky and the clouds and the sun, whatever, but can't see oneself, then what is the benefit? And from what I see and what I hear, even if they do improve those persons' lives to a certain extent, individually, they're still discriminated against like anything. Hare Krishna.
He commented and said, I guess my question is whether they are changing karmic situations.
No, that's all part of the karmic situation. It's all part of the laws of nature. You can't change the laws of nature. It's already programmed by the laws of nature. If you don't believe it, just stick around. Hare Krishna.
Rati Manjari says, real Rasayana, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Dayalnita says, thank you.
Hare Krishna. And thanks to all of you who are such loyal hearers, making my life blissful in the midst of all of the confusion and chaos of this material world. Big powers are like lining up against each other, and it always happens. They mismanage, and then in order to try to keep their citizens together nationalistically, they have some war. And it goes on and on and on and on. But we don't have to participate. We don't have to succumb to those illusions. If we just become serious about our spiritual lives. Anyway, I'm preaching to the choir. You're all very serious. Otherwise you wouldn't be here every night like you do, like you are. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Wait, we have someone else.
Two more things, okay.
Okay.
Another from Gopakanya.
Gopakanya, Haribol.
Thank you, dear Maharaj. Your daily reading service is giving me the life. I am more surrounding in Srimad-Bhagavatam and Gurudev's instructions, and serving devotees and in preaching services that Sri Gurudev had given. We are doing Namahata program since 2002, once in a month at least, cooking classes, Bhaktivedanta libraries at home, and guiding and cultivating new devotees. Please bless us, Maharaj.
Very good, very good. That's the actual practical examples of what I was talking about. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for sharing that for all of us, our benefit.
And this is from Thomas Haribol.
Haribol, Thomas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you as always, Maharaj. Hello from Idaho, United States of America.
Hare Krishna, Thomas from Idaho. Welcome aboard. Haribol.
Visarada Radha Dasi.
Vishara Radha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your greatest service.
Hare Krishna. Everyone needs encouragement, and I'm getting a lot of it from all of you, and I really, really appreciate it. Hare Krishna. Thank you much. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit intense for the next day or two, but still, here we are, getting better and better. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.